Today's topic is essential marketing concepts every nonprofit needs to know. We have 15 minutes. It's kind of going to be a high level overview, but one of the things that I think is so important about marketing is that it's the kind of thing we're actually going back to the basics again and again and running every activity you're thinking about doing through the lens of the basics is really the secret sauce to success. And some of the best marketers out there are so great because they have such a good grip on the basics. So I'm going to be teaching you or reteaching you those basics today so that you can really be a fantastic marketer. Why do you want to be a fantastic marketer? Because that's how we engage with people. It's the secret sauce behind everything we really want to be doing with fundraising, everything we want to be doing with filling our programs and making sure that we're delivering the best kind of program ever. And nonprofits need marketing more than anybody else because nonprofits are all about engaging people and making people's lives better. And that's what marketing is. Marketing is the set of tools that helps you do that. We also need marketing for keeping our volunteers engaged and our employees engaged. And if you want your board to be engaged, it's all marketing, marketing, marketing from my perspective. Who am I? I'm Sarah Olivieri. I'm a #1 international best-selling author. I'm a former executive director, former owner of a marketing agency, and creator of the Impact Method. And I love helping nonprofit leaders change the way they run their organization so that they can make a bigger impact without having to deal with overwhelm and burnout. So let's dive in. The big picture. This is what you always have to keep in mind. There are really three pieces. When I say marketing, we're actually talking about three things, and marketing is the connector of the two. We're talking about your brand. And your brand is way more than your logo or your color scheme. I call that branding. That's how you express your brand. But what is your brand? Your brand is who you are. And if you don't have a clear definition of who, and by you, I mean your organization, your nonprofit, if you don't have a clear definition of who you are, then you can't have a consistent way of being yourself. And if you don't have a consistent way of being yourself, you're not going to gain the trust of other people. And that's not going to work very well. Who are those other people? Let's hop over to segment. Who the they? The they is anybody you want to connect with, anybody you want to have a relationship with. These are potentially your clients. They could be your donors. There's lots of theys out there. And what connects the who you are to the who they are? Well, it's marketing. It's what you're doing to build a relationship with them. It's what you're doing to build a relationship with them, right? So hopefully you can see with this picture, give me a yes in the chat or the comments if you're watching the recording, if you can see that marketing doesn't work very well if you don't know who your segment is or who you are, because you can't connect something when you don't know what it is. So I'm going to give you high-level overview, how to make sure you have a great brand, meaning you really know who you are. Yes, I'm getting some yeses. How to know who your segment is. There's a lot to go into there, so we're just going to touch on a few things. I'm going to give you some resources, and then just the basics of the kinds of marketing questions you need to be answering in order to knock it out of the park again and again. Awesome. So, brand, who you are. This little matrix I called the heart of the brand. And just like a real heart, it has 4 chambers. I've designed it as a pyramid because it's a little harder to like draw a real live human heart. So we've gone for a pyramid, but it's red like a heart. This is who you are. At the top of the heart, and you can do this as an exercise. If you want to go deeper on this, I'd love to have a one-on-one conversation with you. We do this in the Impact Method. We have tools to help us achieve each of these things and get a really clear picture. But we need to have these 4 things really written out. One is your mission. It's got to be really clear and it's got to really state where you are going. What is your ultimate destination? Next is a core belief. This might be new to some folks. If you've been following me, you might have heard me talk about a core belief before. It's a belief that's driving your mission. It's behind your mission. It's something you believe is true, and it's why you have your mission. It's why you have the mission that you have. A vision. That's an alignment tool, right? An alignment tool. It's about what it looks like when you get where you're going, as far as you can tell right now. You can change your vision anytime you need to, but have it, write it down, draw it in a picture. People are very visual and they need to imagine themselves in the space to get all the creative juices going about what should be in the strategy and what tactics should we use and how are we going to act in the world. And it's going to attract the people who are like you in a good way, because you're not actually a human if you're an organization. You're a collection of humans. And so you need to gather the humans around you who feel aligned with your brand, with who you are. They don't have to be exactly the same. And one thing you'll notice here is this last one. This is not core values. These are guiding principles. And the difference here is guiding principles are your rules of the road. These are choices, not beliefs. Now, I think that core values are really great for individual humans, but there is a wide range of core values that can lead to any specific guiding principle. So to avoid things like discrimination, systemic racism, kind of amplifying your biases, I encourage you to have guiding principles and not core values, and leave core values to the individuals who join your organization. That's the heart of the brand in a nutshell. If you really nail these 4 things, you will know who you are, and so will everybody who interacts with your organization. Let's talk about segment. Segment is who they are, any they. They could be, and they don't have to be people, but probably they're going to be people. Youth who are struggling in school, elected officials, employees, the community at large, the media, donors. You choose the they that you want to talk to. And if you really want to get clear on the experts in marketing will usually write up what's called a persona profile or an avatar. You can Google these things and you'll see lots of templates come up. If you'd like my template, you can email me, sarah@pivotground.com, and I'll share with you a template that I have used. But basically, you want to name the person. You're going to imagine we're dealing with youth who are struggling in school. You want to say, who is the person that is the most quintessential young person who's studying in school that I want to talk to? Because we don't do well talking to just the group, everybody into the ether. It doesn't work out that well. So we need to pinpoint the kind of person who's right at the center of our segment and speak to them directly and specifically. And when we do that, we'll capture like the whole segment or as much of the segment as we could. So really give them a name, give them an age, decide where they live, think about their religion or their beliefs, or they don't have a religion. Think about where they get their information. Think about what motivates them. What do they struggle with? What brings them joy? Where do they go when they need help? Where do they go when they want to have fun? Get a really clear picture. Make them a real person. And speaking of giving me a picture, pick a picture that really is that quintessential person. So let's get into the marketing piece, which connects the brand and the segment. And maybe you're here because you haven't quite made marketing work for you before. Well, if you're right now going, well, I don't think we're really clear on the heart of our brand, who we are, or we don't really know who our segment is, that could be why other marketing things you've tried haven't worked. You have to have at least the basics of your brand and your segment solidly in place before your marketing is going to work. Now, let's break the marketing piece into 2 elements. And these are the main 2 elements. They're not more really. There's the element of what do your segment, want to know or experience, but usually know. We're usually engaging by talking in some way from us. What do they want to know from us? What kind of experience are they looking for? when they engage with us or interact with us. And the other thing we need to know is, well, where can we talk to them? And what's the context of that? So let's go in these just a little bit deeper so that you have a formula for how to engage with them. What do they want to know? And usually people want to know these 3 things. And I have a few different versions of each question, but they want to know the answers to these questions, and pretty much in this order. They want to know, are you talking to me? Do I belong here? Is this relevant to me? Does it have something to do with me? Should I be listening? Right? This could be on your website. You might need some headline, right? It might be in the context on your website of your homepage is, somebody gets there and they're like, am I even going to look any farther? Am I even in the right place? Or maybe it's in an email you're sending out. They're already on your list. They know who you are, but why should they read this email? Are you talking to them with this email, or is this a bulk email that's really meant for other people and not really you? Or is it a social media post, right? Tell them, give them some sort of teaser. Some people call this like a attention grabbing headline, but what grabs their attention? Letting them know that what you're about to say is relevant to them, that you want to talk to them. And sometimes there's slick ways of doing this, but you know what? There's also some really obvious ways of doing this. Like, do you love cats? Right? Questions are great because they grab people's attention. It's hard not to answer a question when it's asked. And now everybody knows, oh, everybody says, yes, I love cats. You are talking to me. I love cats. You're talking to me, right? So it can be simple. The next type of question people want to get answered by you is, what do I get? Or what's in it for me? Or why do I care? And this is where, who's heard that like stories are really important, right? We've got the nonprofit, there's a story conference. Give me a yes if you've been told stories are important. This is it, right? The what do I get? We can really convey that in a story. And stories are so powerful. Yes, thank you. We've got some yeses. The do I belong here? People will read a story because if you're telling a story about something they care about, they know they belong here because they're interested in the story so much. But this is where tell them a story about why they care. Tell them how somebody else had the experience that they would like to have. Equally true for a donor or a client, right? So a donor wants to know that they can help get the result that you've gotten. They want to make the same change in the world that you have. So share a story about the change in the world you've made. Same with a client, right? They probably want their lives to change. So they want to hear if you did it for somebody else, that they could get that same result. Let them know what they get. Or maybe it's really straightforward about what they get. And the third thing is you just told them this whole story, this great information, or maybe it was a short line about what they get and they really want it. Don't leave them hanging. At that point, what they want to know is, how do they get it? Or what's their first step? It doesn't have to be super complicated. What do they need to do first? Do they need to call? Do they need to email you? Do they need to schedule an appointment? Do they need to make a donation? What is either just the first step, or you can lay out the 3 main steps in their journey and tell them, invite them to take step 1. So those are the kinds of things you need to communicate. One more note, because some people, this is true across all mediums. Some people might ask, like, well, what if we're talking to the media, right? Well, how do press releases start? For immediate release, right? That says, this is news. This is for journalists. If you're a journalist, I'm talking to you, right? One little line says it all. I have a quick question. Do I think the Storytelling Nonprofit Conference is a good conference to attend? I've never attended it myself. All I can say is I've heard from other people who have, and they really enjoyed it. So I leave that to you to see if it's what you need. And I encourage you right now, I haven't been to their site, but go to their site and see if they're telling you a story about what you get if you attend the Nonprofit Storytelling Conference. That would be a great exercise. So there's this other piece, right? We're going to talk to people. We can't just talk and to avoid. We have to talk to them somewhere. And, if I want to talk to a baseball player, I'm not going to like go to the middle of the Amazon on a boat because baseball players aren't hanging out there. No, I'm going to go to a place where baseball players go, right? If I want to talk to coffee lovers, I'm going to go where there's coffee. If I want to talk to cat lovers, I could show up at the SPCA, right? So you have to go where they are. So you have to first think about where are they. Now, marketing happens across, we call these, by the way, in marketing speak, get ready for a fancy technical term. We call them channels. Channels. So you might hear that talk about channels. So what channel are we talking to them on? We mean, where are we talking to them? So in person, always like the gold standard. Most human beings are just born and we live to engage with other people. And doing that in person is like our evolutionary biology is designed to help us engage with other people. So doing this in person is always, always, always fantastic. But because of technology, we have all these other ways of engaging with people. By engaging, I mean having a conversation, right? That's the majority of what we're talking about here is conversations at some level. So, right, we have this next level of engagement. I've kind of ordered these in like the most effective to the least effective, or they take longer to work, repeat exposure, right? We have a phone call or a video call. We're actually doing one right now, right? We're live. I'm talking to you. I can't see you, but I see your chats coming in. So it's almost as good as a video call. It'd probably be even better if we were face-to-face, one-on-one with a call. We can email each other, right? Direct email or mass email, chat, text message, other online interactive spaces. Right now, not a lot of people have tapped into video games yet, but it's coming. We have virtual reality and many online video games that have creative spaces where you can do events where people can gather. These are all fantastic places to find people. Are you going to find the people who are totally not into technology on a video game? No. So think about who are the they you're talking to and where are they spending their time and where do they want to hear from you? They might be spending their time on video games, but they might, let's say you're I can't think of a great example. I wanted to say a mental health organization, but maybe they don't want to hear about diapers. Okay, you sell diapers and there's a young dad and you give free diapers to young dads who are in need. And here you've got a stay-at-home dad. He could use diapers and he's taking a break playing his online video game. He might not be in the mood to hear about receiving free diapers in the video game. He might not want to hear about that in that context because he's taking his break, right? So he's still your segment, but maybe that specific spot isn't the best place to run into him and have a little chat. The third level here is, your website, social media, journal, newspapers, TV. These things they're still great to be there, but they're less engaging, right? There isn't a back and forth dynamic. Whereas in kind of category 2, we can have a real back and forth communication. Category 1 is like totally immersive, right? So we want to move people towards more immersive, engaging, back and forth, right? Engaging, back and forth, think back and forth. We're having a conversation. We're hanging out together. We're talking together. So here is how to be a great marketer. And for those of you live, I'm going to be happy to stick around and answer some of your specific, if you want an example for your situation. But it's really piecing these 3 things together. Who are you talking to? You've got to know at least one of the right? Start with one segment at a time. It's overwhelming to think of all the segments, but if you try to talk to all of them at once, you're just going to be blah, blah, blah in a sea of infinite nothingness. So pick a segment and start talking to them. Whoops. Next 2 pieces, right? The marketing pieces. What do they of the segment want to know from you? Where can you reach them? Where is a good place to reach them? How can you do the above without vying, without going off brand? We say off brand, right? The brand is who you are. And we have this phrase in English, to be two-faced. It's not a good thing to be two-faced, and it's not a good thing to go off brand. It's the same thing. So you want to consistently be you. So if you want to reach, if you are, the quintessential soccer mom from the 90s, and you want to reach young, hip people, you're not going to go to the nightclub with the young hip people, because it would be off brand for you to try to fit in. Well, you wouldn't go to the nightclub and get all dressed up for the nightclub and try to be someone who you're not, in a place that you would feel uncomfortable. If you're going to show up at the nightclub, you've got to be prepared to show up as you. So maybe you're the mom in the minivan who's driving everybody home and has bottles of water for everybody. That would be staying true to you in this context that's very different than you. Now, you might be asking, well, Sarah, aren't you just stereotyping? Yes, for the moment I am. And when we think about segments in general terms, or we're making up examples, often we are relying on stereotypes. But when you get into the work of really knowing your segment, I want you to think about the real people. You can ask them, you can do interviews with them to understand them, and you're going to make a stereotype for the purpose of really speaking to them, right? With good intent, not to limit them, but to increase your ability, right? Your user persona, your donor persona, the person you're talking to, the avatar, it's a tool for you, right? So we don't want to stereotype and limit people by judging them. We want to use an internal purpose stereotype so that we can communicate better with them. As I mentioned, if you want to have a call with me one-on-one, you're welcome to apply for a free consultation at pivotground.com/apply. Now I'm going to turn off the recording and answer questions for those of you who are here live.